I am proud to introduce Carol Leaman. Carol is an MAC 89 graduate and CEO of Exanify, a SaaS-based training and learning platform used in 150 countries. Over the past 20 years, Carol has built an impressive track record of successfully leading technology companies. Carol is a celebrated entrepreneur and award-winning thought leader whose articles appear in leading learning, business, and technology publications. Carol sits on the boards of many organizations and advises a variety of Canadian high-tech firms. I'd like to encourage also all the participants to add any questions they may have on the Q&A section during the chat. And Carol.
Thanks so much, Janine. I really appreciate that. I'm so thrilled to be here and to be able to have the opportunity to connect with all of you. I'm a 1989 grad out of the Master of Accounting program at University of Waterloo, and little did I know way back then what an incredible ride it was going to be. So in terms of leveraging that education for what would end up being quite an interesting and fun and educational and exciting career for me. So just absolutely thrilled to be here and able to speak with all of you. In terms of my background and experience, as I said, I graduated in 1989, did my requisite public accounting for a couple of years, and then was recruited into a client of mine. And I ended up spending 5 or 6 years doing a lot of merger and acquisition work for that account. And it was a public company. And through that 5 or 6 years, I learned an incredible amount. It was probably the steepest learning curve of my career to date, in fact, where I got exposure to investor relations and legal work and buying and selling businesses, lots of merger acquisition work, capital raising work, things that really opened my eyes to the possibilities of ways that you could take your career when you start in public accounting. And when I left that business, I was actually invited to run a subsidiary company that we had purchased in California as the CEO. And that took my career in a very different direction. I learned a ton about technology. It was during the dot-com boom. And I ended up going on to sell that business to a direct competitor, which again was a whole other set of learnings about selling a business and integrating businesses together. And I will say that one thing I began to learn then was that my education as a CA, CPA was so incredibly foundational to all of the things that I would need to know to be able to A, run a business appropriately, but B, sell it and then integrate it with another business and think about how those two businesses then could be successful going forward. So I did that and then went on to run a pure software company that was founded by a family, and they were struggling. They had millions of dollars of venture investment and just didn't really understand how to make that company go. And so I went in as CEO and basically spent a couple of years fixing it. It was a really distressed business, and then getting it sold for that investor. And then decided, because I had a very young family, and one of the things that I used to get asked a lot was, how do you have this career? You're a mom, you have a husband who works. My husband was a Waterloo engineer. How do you manage all of this? And it truly was a case of, you make whatever you need to work. And I was very lucky that I had a husband who was quite supportive of me at the time. And I remember an instance in 2005 where Ian Klugman, the CEO of Communitech, the local technology advisory organization said to me, "Why are you the only senior female leader in technology in Waterloo Region?" And 2005, which doesn't feel like all that long ago, that was the case. I was the only woman of any seniority in Waterloo Region in a tech company. And I said to Ian at the time, it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of awareness. It's just a matter of being an example. It's just a matter of general evolution of the opportunities that get presented to people. And as the technology sector grows here, undoubtedly there will be more women who see that as an opportunity and decide to grab a hold of it. And here we are 15, 16 years later, and I'm happy to say that there are quite a few women in technology in Waterloo Region now. And I know many of them. I've tried to help them not make the mistakes I did in the early years. And so I went on to actually become the first executive in residence at Communitech, helping technology companies grow, get financed, scale, build strategy, all of those things, which led to an investment I made in an early stage technology company called PostRank. It was founded by a fourth year University of Waterloo software grad, and he was looking for investors. I happened to be one. And then he invited me to come and run the business. So I was doing that when I was asked to advise another early stage company in town, and began to work with those founders just in my spare time. And out of the blue, Google came and bought PostRank, the company that I was actually leading and that I invested in. So I took that opportunity to actually buy the business that I had been advising. And that is Exonify, the company that I run today. So that happened in 2011. And I've spent the last 10 years basically starting over from scratch 10 years ago and growing and building Exonify to what is today about a 200-person company. We sell about $40 million of software, that's US dollars, so 50 or 55 Canadian. We are in 150 countries and 60 languages. And it's just been an absolute delight. And I cannot tell you how incredibly important my foundation of accounting and finance has been to the success of my career. Not only, so I sold the business, the majority of the business in April of this year, to a very large private equity firm in California. And I am still a significant owner in the business, but the majority is owned by them. And it is so incredibly important to be able to talk their language, understand financial concepts. They used quite a complicated, newfangled vehicle to buy the business. And all of the body of my experience and the education that I got at the outset, I didn't realize how incredibly important that was going to be to the success of my career. And I encourage now, becoming a CPA is not for the faint of heart. It is not trivial, as we all know. And sometimes, you want to give up. And I know I did when I was getting my education. There were days I just went, I don't even like this. And I encourage students now to just, power through, do it. You will thank yourself 1,000 times over down the road for all of the things you didn't realize were incredibly important to making you have a very successful career. And I've got several in the business today that have just come through the program. And now on the other side of it are, seeing what I was telling them they would see. And the other thing I often say to people is that it's not well understood or published, but the number one discipline of corporate CEOs in North America is accounting. And most people think it's sales or even in the tech space, technology. The vast majority of corporate CEOs in North America come from an accounting stream. And that is because it is incredibly important to understand finance, balance sheets, income statements, cash flow, cash forecasting, all of the things that we all know so well. So it's been an incredible ride. Not sure, when, where it's all going to end. I feel like I've got one more company in me after this one. We'll see. I'm not sure, but what I can say is that it has been unexpected. It's been fun. It's been, I've never worried about, people often say to me, how did you know what to do? How did you know where to go? How did you know where to take it? I didn't. I just let opportunities present themselves to me. And if they felt good and they felt challenging and a little bit scary and risky, then I would decide to do it. And I would say to all of you, trust your gut. You don't have to plan it out. You don't have to know what you're going to be when you're 40 or 50 years old. Just let it evolve and let it happen. And the foundation that you've laid is just incredibly important to where it's going to take you. And undoubtedly, it will be successful.
Thank you, Carol, for sharing that. I echo your comments in terms of CAs heading up big corporations. I remember when I started looking at public companies as part of my job, two that come to mind are John Cleghorn, who was the CEO of Royal Bank, Bruce Flatt, who's the CA, and also the CEO of Brookfield Asset Management. So it's, very wide skills that can be applied.